of our graduates on the line. Perfect. So welcome to the Leadership Callaway Class of 2020 Commencement. We are extremely proud of these graduates. Not only did you complete this program, but you also did it while you were maneuvering a pandemic. So that is exceptional. Great job on your project. I'm just extremely proud of you all. So congratulations. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our commencement speaker, Kimberly Barnes, which is the president and CEO of the Callaway Bank. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good morning. I would echo what Tamara said. You guys have done a phenomenal job in a time of difficult situations, and you've proven that you got some spunk, so that's pretty cool. I like that. I won't take a lot of time this morning. Tamara asked me to share a few thoughts on leadership, and you know, the only way I know how to talk about stuff like that is from the heart, so that's what I'm going to do this morning. You know, when you look at the definition of leadership in the dictionary, it says it's very cold. It's the action of leading. It's the position of being a leader. It's the head of an organization. To me, that doesn't say anything. To me, that is cold. To me, I have to look at it differently. Leadership to me is a very personal thing. I feel like leadership is way more than that definition ever could explain or describe. Every single person is a leader and can be a leader in some way, shape, or form. Leadership comes in all shapes and sizes at all levels of our world, and I don't think you have to be the head of something to be a leader. I think you can be a leader individually. We're leaders in our families. We're leaders in our friends groups. We're leaders in our companies. We're leaders in our community, in everything that we do. And so you don't have to be in charge to be a leader. And I want to challenge that definition. I want to turn that definition on its ear, because it is not the head of something that requires leadership. If I look at it from a very personal view, as I said I have to, I think leadership starts from you, from inside. I think you have to look inward first. You find your values, you find your commitments, you find your talents, your skills, and that commitment to share them is the start of leadership. There's a responsibility to others that we all share. Every single person, every citizen, every individual has a responsibility to others. You also have a responsibility to yourself, to hold yourself accountable for who you are and what you do, and the influence that you can have on your world. I think you make a choice every day. What are you going to do? Who are you going to help? What are you going to make better? And in those simple acts, that's leadership. Doesn't matter if it's just buying someone's coffee that morning, okay? That's leadership. You're making their day better. If it's stepping up and helping a local organization have a food drive or a blood drive or whatever, or lending your skill behind the scenes on a board, it's not there for fame and acclaim. It's there for the work. That's why you're there, right? So I believe that you look inside, you find what you can do, and then you just go do it. You step forward. It's hard sometimes. It can be scary sometimes to step out of your shell or your comfort zone, but that first little step is the most important step. That's where you're holding yourself accountable for what you're going to do in this world. Once you get rolling, it gets easier, right? It just does. You get more comfortable, but I would say to you, you always have to, excuse me, you always have to talk a lot in the morning before you get on I'm having trouble. When you get rolling and you start doing things in your community and in your company and in your circle of friends and your family and your church and whatever, I would also challenge you that self-accountability is an important thing. Keep coming back around and measure yourself against your values. Are you really upholding your values? And are you doing things the way you want to do them? And it's okay to say, no, I'm not. I need to tweak this a little bit. I need to adjust. I need to go rejuvenate. I need to go recharge my batteries. It's okay to do that too. Stay centered. That's how you stay centered. That's important. You can't be the best you to the rest of the world if you aren't the best you to you, okay? That responsibility to others, I think, is an important thing. This group, I look around and this class and the classes before and all the way back as long as I can remember, our community has benefited greatly from the cultivation of people and mindsets who want to help others. And you do that in small ways and large ways, but the participation in Leadership Callaway, I think, is a very important thing. And I'm so proud of you guys for having done this, because I think some of you got out of your comfort zone, right? You learned about things that you didn't know. You got exposed to things in our community that you had no idea were there or how they worked. And your eyes are opened, right? It's also about expanding your horizons and finding that place where you can be the most of benefit, right? Leadership for self-aggrandizement is not leadership. Leadership to accomplish something good is leadership. So it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard to step forward and have a voice that might be contrary to others, but your values are your values. And the community that we live in only works if we have good, strong voices and work together, and everybody lend their talents and their skills where they're best suited. You know, this world is a wonderful thing, and our humanity is a wonderful thing. Every single person has something to contribute to the world and something to give. And I'm grateful. In fact, I'm happy that we're not all alike. Because if we were, it'd be a really boring place and nothing would get done very well, I think. So I really appreciate our differences. And sometimes that's hard to cultivate different voices, right? If you find yourself in a position of organizing a group or helping a board or something like that accomplish its work, I think it's important for you to bring to the table this appreciation of others and the common good, the idea of the common good. Selflessness and what's good for the whole is really how things work best, right? So when you're working on a project or a community effort, or you're deciding what to be involved in, you know, I would just challenge you to put others first. Sometimes you have to put aside your own views, and that can be hard too. But it's also very important. If my perspective, you know, Lord, I'm the first one to admit I don't know everything. I shouldn't know everything. And so I got to recognize there are other voices that I need to hear and other information I need to hear. And wow, together I feel like we can find a good path, right? That's how you explore. You respect others. You respect and tolerate the differences between people and styles and communication. But in the end, you find consensus and you move forward. That selflessness is an important part of doing that. I don't know. I'm rambling. I told Tamara I wouldn't take very long, and I'm not going to take very long. I want to wrap this up. I think you individually can find your own style of leadership. Find your own style of communication, because communication is key. If you've got ideas in your head or a willingness in your heart, but you don't step forward and communicate that so that other people know it, then you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. So be bold in that. Don't be shy, but also be respectful and professional. That's how you get things done the best, right? And just honor that commitment. You guys have all stepped forward and have expressed a willingness. I want to help my world. I want to help my community. Don't forget that. Don't lose sight of that. Keep that commitment in your heart and find something to get involved in, even if it's 5 minutes a day or, 2 days a month, something. Find something and stay involved, because you're on the path now and you're in the group. So come on. All of us who've been kind of toting the load are relying on you guys to pick it up next. So come on. Get in there and get working. I'm so proud of you guys. This is a wonderful group. Every group is, but I'm really proud of this group. So thank you for letting me kind of ramble on a little bit this morning, and stay the course. Go get it. I'm out.
Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kim. I almost felt like she was speaking to me for a minute. I guess everybody's feeling like that too right now.
I was thinking to myself too.
Leadership, a lot of times, there's a fear a little bit inside of you that makes you feel like, should I step forward? Should I be the leader? Or should I just let somebody else do it and then I'll just kind of be a worker bee? And you know what? I think in every situation that you're in, it kind of falls into place. If somebody is not stepping up to be the leader, then you have the tools necessary now to do that. And you also have the tools to be the worker bee in the back. For me, a lot of times as a leader, when I went through my leadership class, when I was in Fort Smith, I always wanted to let somebody else be in the lead, because sometimes I find myself being a little bit dominating. And so I wanted to give people an opportunity to be the leader and then just let me be a worker bee. But you're going to find those naturally as you go and go out and start doing those things that Kim has just said. Go do something. Find something that you're passionate about. And I think that you all have learned all the ins and outs that's going on in Callaway County, that you're going to be able to find that niche, that thing that you love, whether it be in the school system, whether it be in government, whether it's just working with our nonprofit community here. You're going to find something that's your niche and something that you're passionate about. So make sure that you pick that up, whether it's, like Kim said, if it's 5 minutes a day or twice a month, or maybe it's something you do every single week. Find something. So great job, Kim. Thank you. We appreciate you. Now we're going to turn it over to the Leadership Callaway Class of 2020 to do their presentation from their experience in the class and their class project. So take it away.
Okay, give me just a second here where I pull the PowerPoint presentation out.
Perfect.
Okay. Blaine, you got the first couple slides, right?
Okay, yeah, I've got it. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so Leadership Callaway 2020 was a great class. We split up our kind of slides by the days and events that really kind of spoke true to us. And so we each have a couple slides to go over. So if someone wants to just go to the next slide, I don't know who's doing that, maybe Scott or something.
I'm doing it,
okay.
Yep.
So I'm on the past, present, and future of Callaway County. So that's something that I'm going to talk about. The quote on there says, "History tells us you can't change the past. You can learn from it to change the future." And so Nancy Lewis with the Historical Society actually said that. I'm on a couple different things with her, and she said that before, and I always just find that really nice, just because, you know, in Callaway County, we have so much history, and especially in times like today, I think it's just really important that, you know, we try to honor that history in a good way, and be able to learn from it to make our future better. So if you want to go to the next slide, it goes over all the things that we did during the past, present, and future day. And so one of them was we went to the Historical Society. That's how we started our day. And so we met with Nancy Lewis and Barb Hiddleston, the wonderful ladies at the Historical Society, and they gave us donuts and coffee, and it was really nice. We just sat around a table, and she gave us like a brief history, a brief rundown of Callaway County, and kind of the major bullet points, if you will. We talked about, you know, the settling of the land, and then progressive movements, like establishing Westminster, and other religious things. Like we talked about all the churches up there on Court Street, how there's a big corner of them. And then we walked around. There's a little museum, or there's a display obviously in the museum. And so we walked through that and looked at all of the artifacts and things like that. So that was super interesting. They have so many things in there. And they also, you know, switch them out and do different displays. So that was really neat. And it was just neat to familiarize ourselves with that. So we could, you know, just make ourselves more comfortable in that way. And also Nancy and Barb were great. So another thing that we did that day was we went to Danhuser, which was really neat. I had never, me personally, I knew about them, but I did not realize all of the things that went on there. And so they are like a global producing company that produce lots of things for machinery, and just about their family history and about their business. So we ended up touring the whole facility, which was really great. They were so nice, and we learned a lot about like their employment. A lot of times throughout our whole kind of class, I guess, kind of a repeat thing was, you know, employment and finding people that would make sure that could do it. If Cheryl is emailing, could someone send her the link for Cheryl? Does someone have it?
I'm in.
Okay.
So sorry, it keeps.
Are you there? I just like keep seeing an email pop up. So, but anyways, we talked about, so we went through Danhuser and like toured everything. That was really neat. And then the big thing that stuck out to me was the employment opportunities that business provides for Callaway County. Even, you know, like welders and things like that we need, like those trades. So that was really interesting. Then we went to Crane's Country Store and Marlene's Restaurant and Museum for a tour of that and lunch. I think Cheryl and I got milkshakes. I don't know. That was definitely a good highlight of that trip. But we visited with David Crane and learned all about the history there, with Williamsburg and his family store. And then also just the museum was amazing. It was so full of all different things in history. Our last stop after lunch was the Fulton State Hospital. So they just did the Nixon Forensic Center. That's still really new. So we were one of the first groups that kind of got to go in there and look around, which was really neat. We didn't go back to where the clients are, but we stayed out to the front, and they had a museum area from past things. They had a movie theater area. So we watched a presentation. So just learning about that history and like what it contributed to Fulton and to Callaway County, you know, even when it first started was really neat. And it's obviously came a long way. Obviously just the whole mental health world has come a long way. So it was cool to see the progression of how they provide services and kind of the changes and the things that have happened over the years. And that covers my section.
Great job,
Amber, thanks guys. I think Amber, you're up next.
Yep. Hi, everyone. So my favorite part of Leadership Callaway was probably the ride-along that I had with the police department. I spent the whole day with Officer Ladwig, and it was pretty interesting. I'm going to go over the local government day that we had. We went and visited quite a few places. It was a really busy day. We go to the next slide. Okay. So we started out, first thing, we met with Clay Chisholm at the Sheriff's Department, and he gave us a tour. We talked about like how many inmates that the jail could hold and, you know, what everybody's duties were. And I guess they buy like 200,000 Hungry Men a year to feed all the inmates, which I thought was pretty interesting, if that's, you know. So The 911 dispatch is actually at the sheriff's department, which I had no idea about that. And I thought that was pretty cool that we got to see that too. And next we went to the fire department, station number 1. We got to sit in with Kevin Kofel, and we watched them just do a safety meeting, but it was a little unorganized. I think we could all benefit from some organization and getting everyone on the same page. So, and then we went to the police department. And one thing I remember is that we went down to the evidence locker, and that place is literally stacked to the ceiling with evidence. So they probably would benefit from having a little more space or another evidence room. We went to the ambulance district, which was pretty neat because my coworker, Bill Beck, was actually in one of the ambulances that got wrecked, and that ambulance was back at the ambulance district. So I got to see it, and it was all crushed on the top part. But we talked about their new facility and how it should be done by, I think, the end of this year. So it did burn down, but they're working on rebuilding it. We went to City Hall and met with some city council members, talked with John Braun about the lack of housing we have in Fulton and how we are working towards that. And then we went to the courthouse and met with Judge, is it English, I believe. And I guess we found out there's a judge email where they all talk about judge stuff. So, and we did meet with the county commissioner, Mr. Youngerman, and he gave us a tour of the courthouse. So it was quite an eventful day. We learned a lot of stuff, important things that go on in Callaway County and some things that we could really improve on. Other than that, I don't know if I have anything else to say.
Thanks, Amber.
Thank you.
Okay, Callaway Education. This was originally going to be Crystal's slide. This was her part of the presentation, but she had a death in the family, so I am jumping in and taking over. So on our education day, we basically looked at elementary and high school education. We had another day planned for like secondary education, which due to the pandemic was canceled, but we still were able to take a van around to the 4 different school districts in Callaway County. We started out at South Callaway, then we went to New Bloomfield, then we went to Fulton, and then we ended up in North Callaway. So for education, it was very interesting to just see like the different perspectives of, how the administration in each school was really handling things. Lots of similarities, obviously, but then, a few differences. One thing that spoke out to me was, Fulton has this kind of hands-on facility now where they can use AutoCAD to create things and go that through the whole process there, which I found extremely interesting, and all the students there just seemed to absolutely love that. But starting with South Callaway, that's where we started in the morning. We had a great chat with the superintendent there and got to look at their facilities, which are just top notch. It's just a super great school down there. New Bloomfield, we got kind of a shortened tour, but learned a bunch of information about them and their history and kind of how their school is growing and things like that. In Fulton, we did spend a little bit more time. We had lunch there for one, but then we also learn not only about, the elementary, middle, and high school, but also the Bright Futures, which is a new non-for-profit organization within the last year or two that is really taking off. So I'll touch on Bright Futures here in a second, but North Callaway was our very last stop, and the superintendent there was super helpful, super incredible. So she really gave us like a ton of information on, what's going on behind the scenes there with issues with students and, texting. And I mean, it's just very, very in-depth. So needless to say, I think we all learned a lot about our four elementary schools in Callaway County. I think that they're all kind of doing a great job, kind of focusing on the direction that, the majority of their students want to go. So Bright Futures is something that, like, I don't know, you could have its own slide for. I think it's fairly new, but it is a super incredible program that basically the teachers have kind of put together there, and it is kind of a national chain, so they do have some national backing. But ultimately, when teachers see students that are without clothes, without shoes, without a good rain jacket, a backpack, colored pencils, like whatever it may be, instead of the teachers basically paying out of their pocket for those supplies and things like that, this group is put together to get people in the community to donate, and it's been very, very successful so far. So pretty sure as soon as all of us learned about this, we immediately got on their Facebook page and liked them. And I know that my family's donated a little bit already, and I think that that's probably something that everyone in our class will end up doing. So the next slide that I put together is for economic development, and that was probably my favorite day. If you look at this nice little Photoshop picture I did of Bruce driving the van here. Bruce drove us around. First off, though, we sat in a room at the chamber with Bruce, and Bruce had recently been retired, so I could tell, like it was a little early for him, but at the same time, it was good. He explained how, what his job basically has been over the last, decade or more, and explained how, simple thing, well, I say simple things, but things like getting, Dollar General to come to Fulton, the big warehouse, that is a huge undertaking. It provides so many jobs, a huge campus, a lot of traffic, things like that. So he really opened all of our eyes to, okay, let's say that there is someone that is building a business and they're looking for, a campus, a spot to go. What makes Fulton or Callaway County a great place? So we talked about infrastructure. We talked about unemployment. If there's not a whole lot of people that are unemployed, there's probably, not a whole lot of room to bring more jobs in. Healthcare, I mean, just anything you could possibly imagine. And that to me was one of the most profound things that we did, just kind of speaking about what our local community has to offer. So on the Economic Development Day, we talked with Bruce. We got, kind of an outsider perspective from what he was wanting to, kind of communicate with us, that, there's people looking to come to Fulton and Callaway County and, kind of think outside the box of what, if you owned a business, what would really attract you to come to this area. So once we did that, then we got in the van and Bruce drove around and he showed us several different sites that he had spoken about, took us to a place that at one point the city of Fulton was going to move their landfill, and, kind of explained why that didn't work out and things like that. So very, very interesting day with Bruce. Me as a real estate agent, I found it, like extremely interesting. Not sure everybody else in the group got quite as much out of it as I did, but I absolutely loved it. So that's what I got for Economic Development Day. I think Cameron is going to talk about the nuclear plant trip.
That is correct. Thank you, Scott. Can you guys hear me? Not. So I am really happy that COVID did not interrupt our tour of the Energy Center because I work at Callaway Electric Cooperative, which is the distribution side of things. So it was really cool to see the generation side of things. So Scott, if you could go to the next slide. One thing I wanted to talk about was the safety and security measures that they took. And it may seem pretty obvious that a nuclear power plant would be very secure, but I thought it was interesting walking through the little explosive detector. I'm glad that we all passed our background checks so that we could all go. Safety equipment was provided to us too, so that was really nice. Our first stop was talking with Jesse. And aside from the science aspect of how a nuclear power plant works, I think the biggest lesson that I got personally from Jesse was just his presentation style. The fact that he was able to take something extremely complicated like nuclear power and break it down for people that have no idea how power is generated. That was really awesome to see. I don't think we're going to quit our jobs and run a nuclear power plant just yet, but Jesse did a really good job, and I really appreciate him doing that. So after Jesse's presentation, we started touring the facility, and we were all sworn to secrecy, so I can't tell you too much about the tour, but I'll just tell you that it is an extremely large facility. And again, that might seem quite obvious, but just the sheer size of some of the equipment in that facility, the noise that it made, it was really awesome to go tour and see that. So the last thing I wanted to touch on for the Energy Center was just thanking everyone that was involved for letting us go. Again, I think this is probably a once in a lifetime experience for most of us. So the fact that I got to go tour a nuclear power plant was really, really awesome. And I just want to thank everybody for letting us go. So Scott, could you go to the next slide, please? Next, we're going to talk about State Government Day. This was originally Jake Matthews' slide, and unfortunately, he could not attend either. He did want me to pass along that he was very thankful for being a part of the group, though. I enjoyed meeting everybody, and he had a really good time. But Scott, if you could please again go to the next slide. So our first stop for State Government Day was at the Capitol. We got to talk to Travis Fitzwater. The interesting thing that I took away from this was being able to kind of pick his brain on what life is like in the Capitol and hearing similar concerns from his constituents that we heard throughout the entirety of the program. So housing, filling jobs, things like that, finding a workforce. It was really cool to kind of pick his brain, see what he thought solutions for those problems might be and what our government is doing about that. So that was really interesting. And thank you, Travis, for meeting with us. We also got to sit in on a House of Representatives session, which at times it was hard to follow almost because it was so quick. I remember the speaker talking extremely fast, and I'm sure it's something that you would get used to if you sat in on a lot of those, but to adhere to this parliamentary procedure so well, but then to move so quickly, I thought that was really interesting to see. And they also had this little voting board that was cool to see too every time they voted on bills. So it's not on the slide either, but we did stop in and have lunch at the chamber office there in Jefferson City. It was really nice to kind of talk to them about what we talked to Travis about too, just in a real casual environment while we were eating and kind of see what their plans were, how to navigate all these crazy stuff that we're going through right now. And lastly, we did tour the governor's mansion. And growing up around Jefferson City and being in Jefferson City for basically my whole life, I was surprised that I had never toured the facility before. Our tour guides were extremely nice and knowledgeable, and they were all dressed up in their costumes, which was really cool to see. And the one thing that I remember most, other than just how cool the building is itself, I remember all of the paintings of the governor's wives over the course of time. I always wish I could paint, and those paintings were amazing. So that kind of sticks out to me. And then real quick, while I have a moment here, I do just want to thank everybody again who let us go on these 2 days. It was really nice. The group really appreciated it. So thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it over to Dan, I believe, who's going to talk about entrepreneurship.
All right. So our entrepreneurship day somewhat got changed because of the COVID crisis. So we did it virtually. We weren't in the bus traveling around, but rather in our homes during quarantine days. And we had a chance to visit with Beth Schneider from One Canoe 2, David Crane from Crane's General Store, and Cindy Baker from Errand Runners and The Spot. What I quickly came to realize, not only through the previous months, but also from the business development day, is that Callaway County has several things that make it rather unique. Obviously, having the nuclear plant, not one but two small liberal arts colleges, having the hospital here, like those are all like real unique things for a predominantly rural county to have, and it makes it different from what you would find, let's say, in Chariton County, for instance. But then again, you also have some things that could be considered pluses or drawbacks, like the presence of Columbia and Jefferson City being at just a 20-minute drive away. It impacts a lot of aspects of life in Callaway County, from where people choose to live, where they shop, where they work. They may work in Callaway County but live in Columbia or Jeff. They may do the opposite. So for entrepreneurs in Callaway County, what it seems like is that they have to show a flexibility and adapt over time to meet changing, conditions in the county, but also be willing and flexible to diversify their revenue streams so that they can continue kind of surviving and thriving. I guess we can change the slide. So when Beth visited with us, obviously she's got a long entrepreneurial history. I think it dates all the way back to when she was in grade school, but if memory serves, she also paid her way through college through small businesses that she had started up prior to college. But in terms of One Canoe 2 and the work here in Callaway County, that kind of started when she bought her letterpress in 2009. She at first was doing sales through indie boutiques, then branched out to sell to kind of major national retailers, and did direct to consumer sales through her online ventures. She opened a brick and mortar shop here in Fulton in 2016, so she does traditional on-site sales from her storefront as well. But again, that flexibility to not only be producing products for sale here in the brick and mortar place, but then working through independent boutiques, national retailers, the online element. She has branched off into partnerships with some smaller entrepreneurial ventures, like she had talked about work that they're doing with Hemlock Goods to convert bandanas into face coverings. She was working with Gumball Poodle on some real fancy, funky, cool socks. But then she's also moved into the care fulfillment space, and that's actually become an increasingly large part of her business and will probably continue growing rapidly. What that means is that there are a lot of smaller entrepreneurs that really enjoy things like making cool wreaths for people to put on their doors, but they don't like doing the electronic sales. They don't like packaging up the wreaths, getting them shipped off on time, dealing with the postage and the shipping and the packaging and all of that. That's all part of the care fulfillment process. If they can offload that work and then they could just focus on making wreaths, then they make more sales that way because they're able to produce products faster. And at the same time, it adds a revenue stream for Beth Snyder and her company as well. So she's just full of innovative ideas. With the quarantine and issues with COVID, they had come up with ideas for gift packs for children who are unable to do in-person school, for them to be continuing to learn while at home. Quarantine card packs for people. It gave a lot of folks free time and an inability to reach out face to face. And so people started reaching out in more, I guess, traditional ways, like writing cards. But again, it's the flexibility to keep adapting and changing for your business to be able to grow and survive. We found quite a bit similar from our talk with David Crane. Obviously, Crane's Country Store has been there for a while. I think the original store dates to the 1920s. But if anybody has been in rural America lately, most of the small country general stores have gone to that great graveyard in the sky, like a lot of rural businesses. For general stores to be able to survive and thrive, there have to be things about them that make them different. And so David talked about several of the ways that they've been able to adapt and remain flexible in order to survive. Obviously, having it be a destination stop off I-70 is very important. If they didn't get the traffic coming from the folks that are just, not living in the community, but just passing through, there's no way that they could survive. They also had to figure out additional ways where they would be able to sell products to people locally, and that people might come from a little further afield to shop there. Obviously, the big part of their business relates to work attire, having full lines of, Carhartt and Wolverine and work boots and things like that. Attracts people from the nuclear plant and the construction worlds and a lot of different industries to come there and buy the clothing that they need for on-the-job work. They've also become the sole mid-Missouri retailer for a lot of smaller brands that aren't placed elsewhere in mid-Missouri. So they're really the only place that you can go if you want to look at some of those products. So you take a company like Filson, they're the sole mid-Missouri retailer for Filson. I don't know of any other mid-Missouri retailers for one of their brands is based out of St. Louis, and they have some in-person sales in St. retail shops, but nothing here in mid-Missouri as well. So they were able to create a partnership there as well. And there's lots of different brands that you can only kind of find at Crane's Country Store, and that makes them unique as well. As they continued to grow and figure out what was going to, create revenue for the people in, $2 sandwiches is obviously a big way that they do that. A lot of folks just come in for a $2 sandwich at lunch, and they may grab something else while they're there. So it's those, it's ways to get people in the door to spend money. But then they have to find additional revenue streams as well. So about 20 years ago, they opened Marlene's Restaurant. A little bit more recently, I think it was in 2004, they opened the Antiques and Collectibles in the museum shop. And then recently, they've had to move into online sales as well, especially with the COVID pandemic. Fewer people were out and about, fewer people were traveling, fewer people were employed. So there was less of a market for selling clothing and attire for workplace wear. And so they've moved into online sales as well, so you can get that digital revenue stream rolling as well. And then finally, Cindy Baker. Errand Runners is a really unique business, and it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about in terms of remaining flexible and adapting to meet the needs of your community. When people think about errand running businesses, they basically think about a service that will run out and grab groceries or a prescription for somebody that's not able to do that. Maybe they don't have a driver's license. Maybe they are a senior. Maybe they have developmental disabilities and they aren't able to do that. And so an errand service will do those errands for them. But obviously serving a community like Callaway, there aren't enough people that just need those limited services done in order for that business to survive. And so they've had to branch out into all kinds of different areas, from, waiting for repair people to come to a house. Sometimes you get a window and they'll say, oh, we'll be there between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And then you just kind of throw your hands up and say, I guess I'm not working today. Well, if you have errand runners, they can hang out at your house and wait for that workman. It allows you to still go to work. And that obviously is an additional service that's kind of separate and different from just kind of running an errand for somebody. But they've got all kinds of things like that. They've got waiting services. They've got a mobile notary service. They'll stand in line for you at the DMV. If you're on vacation and you want somebody to watch your house, they can do that. They kind of serve like a meal delivery service like Uber Eats. So they'll run out and pick up dinner for you and deliver it. If you need somebody to come to your house midday and take your dog out for a walk, they'll do that too. They can take your old photos and digitize them for you. They'll give you wedding planning help. And then they'll even do something that kind of seems silly on the outside, but it's just genius in terms of an innovative idea. But they will provide a walking partner for you. So let's say that you are a woman that likes to go out running or walking, but you don't necessarily feel safe doing that. Well, now you've got a partner that you can go out with while you get your exercise. So again, it's ways to adapt and be flexible and continue changing to meet the needs of the community. She's also branched out now into a new restaurant venture called The Spot. So it's really important in a community like ours that has advantages like the universities here, or like the nuclear plants, like the hospital and so on, for you to be able to attract and retain enough business that will allow you to be able to survive and thrive with all the change that happens in a community like ours.
Okay, so I think this is the final day, the community outreach day. We didn't do much traveling that day. All the nonprofits came to us, and then in the afternoon we had kind of like a service day. So that morning we spoke, and I think if you can go to the next slide. We had several groups come into the chamber and just talk to us about what they did. And I think it kind of opened all of our eyes, because most of us have heard of all of these organizations, but I don't know if we had a true deep understanding of what all they did and what they provided. So some of them that we spoke with, the United Way of Callaway County, Heart of Missouri CASA, Super Sam Foundation, and then Serve. And so this is actually the day that it was a big day for us, because it gave us inspiration for our class project. So we spoke with all of them that morning, and they told us what all we did. In the afternoon, we went and volunteered with Serve. They were getting together the Thanksgiving dinner bags, and we spent the afternoon putting bags together of food, and it was fun because we were getting out and doing something and helping one of these groups. And then and I don't have them on this slide. One of the groups we talked with was Our House, and they help the Callaway County's homeless. And that, I think, spoke to the large majority of our group. And we really felt like we could help them and assist with that. And that's kind of where the idea for our group project originated. So I can, if you want to go to the next slide, I'll kind of go talk into that. Originally, our class project was going to be a small town support day. It was going to be the first weekend in May. We were going to have, I think, a donation drive, and we were going to get people together to come and tackle some of the homeless shelters to-do lists. So, and then COVID hit, and we had decided to postpone that and do it at a later date. And I think a few weeks into COVID, there was an article in the paper about our house and, you know, how they were in need during this time. And we all got together and realized maybe we shouldn't postpone this. Maybe we should just pivot and try to figure out how to help them in a new way, because, you know, with COVID, they really could use our help right now. And so we came up with the idea to do a kind of a virtual donation drive. We did most of our so we did basically a fundraiser to help them raise funds to, you know, they had things they needed to buy and just things that they needed to do. Since we couldn't physically do it, we could help raise the money for them to do it. And, you know, we did a lot of advertising on Facebook, social media, and GloveCon actually came forward and said that they would match. I think they gave $1,000 and said that they would match up to $1,500. And that really helped kind of propel the fundraising forward. And we ended up getting to our goal really quickly on that. I think our goal originally was 2,000, and we far exceeded that. And we were, you know, we tried to be conservative with COVID because we didn't know how many people would be able to donate. You know, a lot of people went on unemployment, and it was just a tough time. But we were blown away by the generosity and how many people came forward to help with that. And, you know, we also did a donation drive where people could drop off things. I know, I mean, diapers, toilet paper, all that stuff was, you know, hard for them to come by, and they had a drop box out there. And so raising money and then just building awareness for them through our project, you know, we, I think, helped build awareness that this was here in our community and that they needed help, and building awareness of how that people could help. And so, yeah, we ended up raising $5,150 for them. And I think that kind of wraps it up.
One more thing I'm just going to add real quick is that whenever we presented the check to Misty, she told us that not only, you know, our check that we donated of $5,150 was, you know, received by them, but they also had several more donations like to their website and that type of thing, which she kind of helped attribute to us. And I think it was over $8,000 that, you know, they've ended up raising partially, or, you know, whatever you want to point to it, but because of, you know, our efforts and our notoriety or whatever that we brought to our house. So.
And then to jump in on top of what Scott just said, if I'm not mistaken, there was another matching gift from an anonymous donor, up to 500 that we added in. And then if I'm not mistaken, Misty also said that 60% of those that gave to our drive to raise funds for our house were new donors to our house. So what we've done is we've greatly expanded their donation base and given her additional sources of support going forward in the future.
Who's doing this slide? You want me to do it?
Yeah, you should do it.
Okay, thanks, Blaine.
Yeah.
Well, what we won't forget, I can say that I think that our group has been absolutely fantastic. I don't know, we all just got along. We all seem to, be very much blown away by what our house did. I don't know, you know, what other groups have been like, but I know that I was very surprised that whenever we sat down and had lunch after all the nonprofit organizations talked to us, that we were all in on our house. And, you know, I figured somebody would have an opinion that, you know, maybe we go a different direction or whatever, because, you know, getting 8 people to all, you know, be on the same page is not always the easiest thing. But, you know, we worked super great together. I think that we have definitely started not only, like a partnership in the community, but also, made a lot of friends. And I know Jake has moved since then and is no longer in the community, but I really hope that everyone else who, was in this class really will, take what we've learned and then help apply it to the community to make it a better place. Me saying that from a person that's lived here my entire life and is going to raise my family here, but I just see the, the importance of this group. And so thank you, Tamara, and the Chamber and everybody that was involved. I know this was not an easy thing to put together, and it was also not an easy thing to pivot whenever, the pandemic happened. But ultimately, we will never forget the times that we spent together. And, it was just very educational for everyone. I think I can say that very confidently. So. And that's the slides.
Okay, perfect presentation. Thank you all so much. So there was a couple of comments. Jamie with Ameren said that she had to jump off for another call. Great job on your presentation. Oops, where'd it go? Congratulations on your graduation. Also, Mayor Cannell had said that he had to jump off, but he wanted to extend his thanks to the group. His message to you is, if you're scared, do it anyway. You'll never be sorry for getting involved in the community in ways that benefit others. So we really appreciate your participation in the Leadership Callaway program. You all did a great job. I'm extremely proud of you, the way that you all were just so willing to end your leadership class on the virtual note, and you did a great job that day. You've done a great job for the entire year. Thank you for your work with our house. It was amazing to watch your goal and then it just explode. It was amazing. And I know when Justice went out and took pictures, she was just so excited by that check, and you got the money you guys had raised, and it was just fantastic. So I just really appreciate your hard work and pivoting to still make it happen. You planned the day to make it to work there, and then you had to pivot, like Cheryl said, and do something different, and you still wanted to do it for your community. And there's always ways to pivot. So that was a great lesson for you all as leaders of Callaway County. So you have received your clock, your graduation gift, and you also received your gift card to Ohana Pizzeria. So make sure Justice has this video has been recorded. So I encourage you to get some pizza from Ohana and share this video with your family, just to celebrate your Leadership Callaway class graduation. We wish we could have done this in person. We wish we could have been at Ohana Pizzeria, but you can do it at home and enjoy some great pizza and some of those mozzarella sticks that are fabulous from Ohana. So thank you. You have a great day, and good luck to you all in your future. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to call the Callaway Chamber of Commerce. We'd be glad to help you.
Thank you, Tamara.
Have a good day.
Congratulations, group. Way to go. Good job.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Proud of
Kim.
you.